All right, yesterday was a beautiful day and I wasted most of the time yesterday building my saloon doors, which I've got here in my hands. Got my trim work done for the door, and I'm gonna go out here in the nice cool weather today. Rained last night. It's really breezy and really chilly today. No snow, but I'm gonna get these doors put on. And I learned something really valuable lesson when I built these doors. When you're doing mortise and tenon type joinery, you should always allow for the mortise and tenon. So my doors ended up being a little bit narrower than what I wanted them to be, but I got a lot of money into these, so I'm going to make them work. All right, there's the two saloon doors. They are rough sawn cedar. I got some cedar siding for the panels in the middle there, and then I got some they were 2x6s at the top and at the bottom, and then a 2x4 on the sides, and I split those so that I could groove a channel in there so that the center panels in there kind of free float. But you can see I got a little bit of drywall up in here too. I need to get some more up. I got that corner to finish. I got the part over top of the door to finish there. I got some over on this side, and then of course my storage area kind of for some lumber. But I'm going to get those cedar pieces right there. That's also rough sawn cedar. I'm gonna get those framing up the doorway there and then get my saloon doors on. All right, now this is something I very rarely ever use, is nails. Screws are far superior to nails. You're not gonna pull a screw out without doing some serious damage to some wood. The holding power is a whole lot better. But on this, I'm gonna put this cedar trim up. I want it to look, sort of traditional. I will put some Phillips screws holding the doors onto the frame and everything, but just so they get a superior hold. Anyways, let's put some nails in this thing. I try not to damage wood too much, but I've been known to miss a time or two. All right, there's the first door on, and these are the gravity type hinges. And I got to do a little bit of sanding down on that piece right there because it's kind of getting hung up as I open the door there. That corner's hitting the hinge there. But these are going to be more the traditional style hinges. Now they're not spring loaded, so they don't force themselves back in the closed position. So they're gravity type. And the bad thing about this door is it's cedar, which is good because it's rotten, insect resistant. But it doesn't have any weight to it, so these rely on gravity, and hopefully over time they'll loosen up a little bit and they'll swing closed automatically. Now there's some little ramps you can put in that bottom hinge there that keeps them, you can open them all the way up and they'll stay in the open position. But I took those out because I want them to be able to go close on their own. But like I said, there's really not any weight to it, so it doesn't really want to close right. Plus I gotta, like I said, trim that up down at the bottom a little bit so that it'll close on its own. But let's get the other door put on there. Then I'll show you where I really screwed up because this mortise and tenon here kind of shortened my door up a little bit. So I'm gonna have a lot wider gap in here than I wanted. One of the things you want to do when you put these on is you want to have the door all the way open, because the gravity part, there's a little cam in the bottom of it. The door raises up as it goes swings all the way open either way. And if you put this all the way down, then when you go to open the door, it's going to be pushing up against that hinge. It's not going to let it do its thing. But right there was my big mistake. That's a huge gap in between there. It should not be that big, and kind of disappoints me, but I really don't want to build them again because it's a little pricey. The wood is not cheap, especially not in this part of the country. Cedar is a nice wood. This is rough sawn on one side. The other side's pretty smooth, at least on the panels I've got in the middle there. The 2x6s and the 2x4s, they were rough cut all the way around. But I'm going to go ahead and use it like that, and it is what it is. little dramatic cowboy entry there. All right, I am pretty disappointed in that gap there. That is huge. You know, some cowboy's horse could walk right through there without even swinging the doors. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these off, and I'm going to make like a baluster, I guess, kind of looking thing that would go, oh, I'll probably start up here, go a little bit below the bottom of the door. I do have one of these extra planks left over, so I'm going to rip it down, and it'll still be cedar, and try to get it to look all right. But that'll bring my door out probably an inch, somewhere around there. Those boards aren't quite 3/4 inch thick. They're not. These are 3/4. These are this was a 1x6 I had to rip down to fit on here. But these boards are a little bit narrower, but I'll rip it down and get me a piece to go up there. And I got plenty of that left over, so I might as well use it. Make it look better than it is. All right, I got my boards ripped down there. They are 3 inches wide. They're not quite 3/4 inch thick. Like I said, they're just a little thinner than a 1x. But I got them ripped down. I got them cut to length, and I'm going to go ahead and get them attached on here and then get the doors on there. It'll close up my gap some, make it look a little bit better anyways. All right, now that gap is a whole lot better. Not quite real even, but it sure is a lot closer together, and it really doesn't narrow the opening too much. The balusters I've got on there they're okay. I mean, it'd been nice if they had been a little more decorative, but they're functional, and that's all I'm really worried about. This is not a showroom. It's just it's the Shootin Saloon. Time to do a little mud on the walls here. I got the plaster mixed up. I'm going to do kind of a thin skim coat on the seams there so I can get my tape stuck to it, and then we'll go over it and smooth it out. Now I only got to do these seams about halfway down. I'll go a little bit more than halfway just because I'm going to put wainscoting on the bottom half of it there, and so I'm not really worried about that. I don't have to do the inside corners because I've got the columns right there are exposed, so I'll do some wood trim in there to make it look nice-ish, whatever. But anyways, I got the mud mixed up. I got the Easy Sand 90. It gives me 90 minutes to work it. After that, it sets up. There's no lightening it up to do it again. Let's get busy. Like I said, I don't have to go all the way down the floor. I'm going to go ahead just for the taping purposes anyways. Just need that thin coat on there to get the tape stuck. Now the humidity's pretty low today, so I can already see the edges of it starting to dry out some. Whoa. Straighten that up a little bit. Get a little more mud on there to stick it in. We want to press it in there really good so it's bonding with the plaster underneath. And you don't want to try to fill it all up in one shot. You don't want to work it too much either because you'll start tearing up the paper and the tape if you do. All right, move on to the next thing. Got to catch the nail holes too, or screw holes in this case. Those are pretty easy. Usually only one scrape across there, maybe two. Very minimal sanding or finishing needs to be done on those. You want to get it worked down in the screws pretty good. Make sure you've got them sunk in deep enough too, so you're actually covering them up. All right, I got my mud up on the walls. It was really quick and dirty. Not so much dirty, but really quick. And this stuff is, like I said, it's it's drying pretty quick. You can see where it's a little thicker and a little lighter. It's thinner, and then the darker stuff is where it's still wet. But I probably haven't been at this about maybe 10 minutes tops, and I've only got 4 vertical seams, 2 little short ones over top of the door up here, and a bunch of nail holes, and they'll be dry in no time. I got to get my tools over there, get them all cleaned up and everything. Then I can come back in here in just a little bit. Like I said, this is 90 minutes to set, so yeah, that's the nice thing about it, is it doesn't take long to do. But I'll get this all cleaned up and smoothed off and everything. I might even take some of this plaster or joint compound and smear it all over the upper part of the wall there to kind of give it kind of a rough texture, kind of like what would have been in the old days. They used lath and plaster, horsehair into some of the plaster mix to kind of help it bind together and everything. But they didn't have really perfectly smooth walls back then. I mean, if you really took the time, you could. But it's a saloon, and it's the Shootin Saloon. So if it looks a little rough, I'm okay with that. So let me go get my tools cleaned up, and then I'll come back and get at it again. All right, while we're letting the plaster dry in here a little bit, I'm going to explain to you how I'm going to do things. It still sounds kind of funky in here. There's 2 ways to soundproof things. You can soundproof something, or you can, I don't know what the other word for it is. But anyways, you can get the acoustics to sound a lot better. Now, no matter how much insulation I put in the walls, now I did not put any in here, that would be soundproofing it. So what that would do is that would keep sounds from in here to going out there. But I've got this great big open door here, so I'm not too worried about sounds getting out. I mean, they're all going to get out there, or the little bit over top of the saloon doors. But what I want to do is I want to get the sound inside here to sound better on video. You can really tell the difference now. Even if I walk outside, the sound changes quite a bit because I don't have that bouncing around or the echoing of the sounds like I do when I get inside here. It's terrible in here. But you notice I don't have anything on the ceiling there. I don't have anything above the 8-foot mark in here. So what I think I'm going to do is on the ceiling here, I'm probably going to get some felt or fleece or something white, hopefully, and do the ceilings in that. Now that'll cut down on a lot of that echoing sound around here. Same thing up over top of the door here. I'll do that up there too. And white will give me a little bit better lighting in here because there's no power out here. I may put a couple solar lights in here just so I have something to film with. And lighten up some of the spots, because you can see the lighting in here is not all that great either, especially if I turn around like this and it gets really bright outside, then the camera tries to adjust for it. So I want to avoid that. But I figure with a white fleece or white felt up there, it'll help me get a lot better lighting in here and really cut down on some of the noise. Now on this wall over here is where I plan on putting the bar, and that will also start bouncing, breaking up some of those sound waves so they don't sound so bad. Once I get more stuff in here, that will kill some of that echoey sound. And it's just like, when you get a new apartment or new house or something, you move in there, it really sounds terrible until you get all your furniture and everything in there, and then it starts sounding more like a home. In here, it's terrible right now, but give it a little bit of time, we'll get it worked out. If you enjoy sanding drywall, put as much mud on there as you want. I don't enjoy sanding, so I try to put it on as thin as I can. It's easier to put it on than it is to take it back off. So I'm just gonna give it a little light sanding, which is all it should need, and then put another coat on there. It doesn't take very long to dry with this stuff, 90-minute set time. You can put on 2 or 3 layers a day, no problem. It cures. It doesn't have to dry, I guess. It has to cure. And you're ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and knock off these high spots and thin feather the edges a little bit. Then I'll put my next coat on. It should be good to go. You ever seen that big kind of gaudy looking wallpaper they put up in the old saloons? I've seen a bunch of pictures of it. I can't tell the colors because it's all black and white. But I've seen some reproductions of some saloons or some modern pictures of old saloons, and they had kind of a big patterned wallpaper if they weren't wood. I wish I'd have bought that because this is a pain. Ta-da! All right, there is my first 3 rows. Start on the 4th one. I got a long way to go, but I don't know if it was the best color choice. This kind of yellow looking stuff like this, but it is what it is. All right, I've got about half the stenciling done in the saloon. I got the little piece over here. I got this wall here. I just started this back wall with the saloon doors in it. And then I've still got this wall to do and the other one. Now I'm gonna take a little break for a little bit because here's my stencil. It's starting to get some pretty heavy paint built up on it. And it starts filling in some of those little holes, and some of it's kind of drying on there. So I'm gonna get it back to the house, get it cleaned up with a little soapy water, and get it, back to original, and then continue on. Still got a little bit more to do. This really is a lot of fun, and I've probably done a lot of overkill here, but I enjoy building stuff like this. I don't mind painting. It's not my favorite task, but I don't mind it. But as you can see, these stencils here, they're pretty handy, and dabbing it in there with the sponge. They still get a little bit of paint squeezing behind the stencil some, but it doesn't matter that much. Now I'm not going all the way down to the floor with it. I've got a line I've drawn on there at 32 inches, so I'm going to do wainscoting below from 32 inches down. And it's just a paneling that I'm putting in here, not actual wood, but it looks pretty good anyways. And a couple little half pieces there along the edge. Now most of this will get covered up by the trim, so it's not a biggie. I don't even need to go all the way to the edge. But ta-da! There's like a bazillion of these things on there. Anyways, that's it for the painting part of it. Picked up one of these stencils on Amazon. They got a bunch of different ones on there. The paint, this is from Menards. It's one of the little sample things, which is pretty cool because it's like $3. It's still custom mix it any color you want. And I really didn't need a whole lot. So the sponge, like I said, is a leftover from tile job. And now I got to get cleaned up, get my tools cleaned up and everything. Then I can start putting the wainscoting on. All right, I got all the painting done in here. I got all my stencils on there for my faux 1800s wallpaper. I got my saloon door framed in. You'll notice it's kind of odd looking because that piece goes all the way across. I'm going to have a barn door in here, and it's going to slide over that way. And that's just so I can close this off like is suggested. What am I going to do in the really bad winter weather? So it would be nice to have that closed off. And I did build a door for it. I got to get my spacers for the rail up top, get the holes drilled in and everything, get it mounted up there. I did not buy a whole kit. I built the door and I bought just the roller parts. I went down to a local place and bought the flat bar to go up on the top there. I just got to get my spacers up there, get my door mounted on there, get my piece on the floor there to keep it from flapping in and out. But I've got all the walls pretty much done. I've got my wainscoting on there. It's just a paneling. It looks like beadboard, which is kind of nice because I don't have to stain it or anything. I got to finish up these corners in here. I got to finish up the wainscoting the rest of the way around too. But, I'm getting there. But anyways, that's just about it for this weekend. Next weekend, I hope to get it all done up. I got to get the big opening there. I got to get this thing framed in some, because I haven't put that piece of wainscoting on over there because I need to put some trim around that door. And I'm probably going to go ahead and put barn doors on the outside of this front part here. I'll make, it's an 8-foot wide opening there. I'll make 4 2-foot doors so I can open it up and they'll be out of the way on the outside. Come over here where you can see it. This is 2-foot wide. On the end there, I'll make my 2-foot doors so they'll slide over top of that. It'll be a bypass track system up here. And then I'll put my 2-foot doors over here. So 4 foot on that side, 4 foot on this side. That gives me my 8 feet to close off this opening here if I just want to do some filming. Or maybe I just actually want to come out here to the saloon and do a little bit of drinking, have a few whiskeys, and enjoy the pond over here. I plan on putting a dock out there so I can kick back and chill. Might have to be kind of like a man cave shooting saloon type thing, but it's coming along.